There was a morning when I woke up and looked in the mirror. The person in the mirror looked back at me with tired eyes, a tense face. And I thought, why do I hate this person so much? It wasn't the first time I had that thought. In fact, for many years, the conversation in my head with myself was always filled with criticism, comparisons, and questions about why I wasn't good enough. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever looked in the mirror and instead of seeing a human being who's trying, you only saw flaws, failures, things you think you should change? Have you ever felt like you were your own worst enemy? If the answer is yes, then you're not alone. In fact, you're among millions of people in this world who fight a silent battle with themselves every day. A battle that no one sees, no one knows about, but affects every aspect of our lives. Today, I want to talk to you about what I believe is the first, most important step to changing your life. It's not making more money. It's not finding love from someone else. It's not getting your dream job or the perfect body. It's learning to love yourself. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But in reality, this might be the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. Because in a world that constantly tells us we're not good enough, loving ourselves becomes a revolutionary act. I remember the first time someone asked me, "Do you love yourself?" I laughed and said, "Of course I do." But when they asked me to prove it, I couldn't answer. How could I say I loved myself when I talked to myself in ways I would never talk to my worst enemy? How could I say I loved myself when I constantly compared myself to others on social media? How could I say I love myself when I refused to forgive my own mistakes, yet easily forgave others? And then I realized a painful truth. I had spent my entire life seeking love from the outside to compensate for not loving myself. I thought that if I achieved enough success, if I pleased enough people, if I was perfect enough, then finally I would be worthy of love, even from myself. But that was a trap that most of us fall into. We live in a society that constantly tells us we're missing something, missing money, missing beauty, missing success, missing love, missing happiness. And the solution is always external. Buy this, become that, achieve this, find that person, always from the outside. But has anyone ever told you that maybe you are already enough from the beginning? Has anyone ever told you that the love you're seeking outside actually already exists within you? Has anyone ever told you that happiness isn't something you find, but something you create? I want to be the first person to tell you that today, you are enough. Right now, with all your flaws, with all your mistakes, with all the things you think you need to change, you are enough. But this doesn't mean you can't grow. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have goals or dreams. This means your worth doesn't depend on whether you achieve those things or not. Let me tell you about an interesting study. Scientists followed a group of people for 20 years to see what made them happiest. The results might surprise you. It wasn't money. It wasn't success. It wasn't fame. It was the quality of the relationship they had with themselves. People who had a good relationship with themselves. People who knew how to speak kindly to themselves. Knew how to forgive their mistakes. Knew how to take care of themselves. They weren't just happier, but also more successful in every area of life. Why? Because when you love yourself, you make better decisions. You don't accept toxic relationships just because you're afraid of being alone. You don't stay in jobs that make you miserable just because you're afraid of change. You don't self-sabotage with bad habits just to temporarily forget the pain. When you love yourself, you become your own best friend. And when you have a best friend who's always by your side, someone you can completely trust, someone who always supports you, someone who understands you the most, then you can face anything life throws at you. But how do you love yourself when we're used to criticizing ourselves? How do you change the voice in your head when it's become a habit for many years? First, you need to realize that the critical voice in your head is not you. It's an accumulation of all the negative words you've heard in your life. From people you met at school, from family, from society, from media, but it's not the truth about you. Imagine you have a little friend that you love. Every time that friend makes a mistake, what would you say? Would you say, "You're terrible. You never do anything right. You're such a failure"? Of course not. You would hug them, comfort them, and say, "It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Next time we'll do better." So, why don't you treat yourself that way starting today? I want you to try an experiment. Every time you notice yourself being self-critical, stop and ask, "What would I say to a dear friend in this situation?" Then say that to yourself. It will feel strange at first. You might feel fake. But remember, you've spent many years practicing self-criticism. Now it's time to practice the opposite. But loving yourself isn't just changing how you talk to yourself. It's also taking care of yourself every day. Have you ever noticed that when you love someone, you want the best for them? You want them to eat healthy, get enough sleep, do things that make them happy, avoid harmful things. So why don't you want that for yourself? Loving yourself means making choices every day to take care of your physical and mental health. It means saying no to things that harm you, even if they seem pleasant temporarily. It means saying yes to things that nourish your soul, even if they're difficult. I remember a time when I thought loving myself meant indulging myself, eating whatever I wanted, doing whatever made me feel good in the moment. But then I realized that wasn't love. It was self-destruction. True love sometimes means being strict with yourself, like a loving mother who won't let her child eat candy all day, even if the child cries, because she knows what's best for the child in the long run. Loving yourself means exercising even when you don't want to, because you know it's good for your health. It means eating healthy food even if it doesn't taste as good as fast food, because you want your body to be healthy. It means going to bed early even when you want to watch another episode, because you know how important sleep is. But most importantly, loving yourself means forgiving yourself. This might be the hardest part. We often forgive others more easily than we forgive ourselves. We say everyone makes mistakes when talking about others, but when it comes to ourselves, we become the harshest judges. I want you to understand something. Every decision you made in the past was based on the information and level of understanding you had at that time. You did your best with what you knew at that moment. And if you had known better, you would have done better. This doesn't mean you're not responsible for your actions. This means you learn from mistakes instead of punishing yourself forever. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about those failures, he said, "I didn't fail. I just found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb." That's the difference between someone who loves themselves and someone who doesn't. Someone who doesn't love themselves looks at mistakes and says, "I'm terrible." Someone who loves themselves looks at mistakes and says, "What did I learn from this?" Now, I know some of you are thinking, that sounds nice. But how can I love myself when I've done terrible things, when I've hurt others, when I've ruined everything? I understand that feeling. I've been there. And I want to tell you this, it's precisely because you've done those things that you need to love yourself more. When you hate yourself, you'll continue doing terrible things because you think you deserve terrible things. You sabotage yourself. You put yourself in toxic situations. You repeat behaviors you regret. But when you love yourself, you want to become the best version of yourself. You want to fix your mistakes. You want to learn and grow. You want to become someone you're proud of. Loving yourself doesn't mean justifying the wrong things you've done. It means believing you have the ability to do better. And here's something magical. When you start loving yourself, you also start loving others more. Because you can't give what you don't have. If you don't have love for yourself, how can you truly love others? When you stop criticizing yourself, you also stop criticizing others. When you forgive your mistakes, you also easily forgive others' mistakes. When you accept yourself with all your flaws, you also accept others. That's why loving yourself isn't selfish. It's the greatest gift you can give to this world. But I also want to tell you about the challenges you'll face on this journey. Because it's not a straight path, there will be days when you forget all of this and go back to old habits of self-criticism. There will be times when you feel like you're pretending, like you don't deserve to be loved. There will be people around you who don't understand this change and try to pull you back to old thinking. That's normal. That's part of the process. Remember that you've spent many years building negative thought habits. You can't change them overnight. But every day you practice loving yourself, you're creating new neural pathways in your brain. You're teaching your brain a new way of thinking. And gradually, you'll notice that the voice in your head is changed. Instead of being a harsh critic, it becomes a supportive friend. Instead of pointing out what you did wrong, it reminds you of what you did right. Instead of making you feel terrible about yourself, it encourages you to become a better version. And when that happens, your life will change in ways you can't imagine. You'll stop seeking approval from others because you already have approval from yourself. You'll stop comparing yourself to others because you understand that everyone's journey is unique. You'll stop being afraid of failure because you know your worth doesn't depend on success. You'll start pursuing dreams you gave up on. You'll leave relationships that aren't good for you. You'll say no to things that don't align with your values. You'll say yes to opportunities you previously thought you didn't deserve. I remember a girl who wrote to me saying that after learning to love herself, she had the courage to leave a job that made her miserable for 5 years to pursue her dream of becoming an artist. She said, "For the first time in my life, I felt I deserved to be happy." Another man shared that when he started speaking kindly to himself, his relationship with his wife and children also improved significantly. He no longer brought negative energy home. He could love his family better because he had learned to love himself. That's the power of loving yourself. It doesn't just change the relationship you have with yourself, but also changes the relationship you have with everyone and everything else in life. But let me share with you the most important thing I've learned. Loving yourself doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you love yourself despite not being perfect. In a world that constantly tells us we must improve, must become better, must achieve more, accepting ourselves as we are is a revolutionary act. It doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you grow from a place of love instead of from a place of lack. When you try to change yourself from a place of hatred, you'll never be enough. No matter how much weight you lose, how much money you make, how successful you become, you'll still find something to criticize about yourself. But when you change from a place of love, you change because you care about yourself. You want the best for yourself. And from that place, change becomes sustainable and meaningful. I want you to understand that this journey of self-love has no endpoint. It's not a destination you arrive at and then you're done. It's a daily practice, a choice you make every time you wake up. Every day, you'll have the opportunity to choose between self-criticism and self-encouragement. Every day, you'll have the opportunity to choose between self-sabotage and self-care. Every day, you'll have the opportunity to choose love over fear. And every time you choose love, you're investing in your future. You're creating a life you're proud to live. You're becoming the person you always had the potential to become. I remember a famous philosopher once said, "The most important thing you'll wear every day is your attitude." And I believe the most important attitude you can have is an attitude of love toward yourself. Because when you love yourself, you'll treat yourself like a dear friend. You'll be patient with your growth. You'll celebrate small victories. You'll comfort yourself when facing difficulties. You'll believe in your abilities even when others don't. And from that foundation of love, you'll be able to build a life that's not just successful but also meaningful. A life that's not just impressive to others but also fulfilling to you. A life that when you look back, you can say, "I lived my way. I loved and was loved. I was authentically myself." Now, I want you to pause for a moment and think about the life you would have if you truly loved yourself. Think about the different decisions you would make, the different relationships you would have, the different opportunities you would seize. Imagine waking up every morning feeling grateful to be yourself. Imagine looking in the mirror and instead of seeing flaws, you see a human being who's trying, who's growing, who's becoming. Imagine having conversations without worrying about being judged. Imagine pursuing your dreams without fear of not being good enough. Imagine setting boundaries because you know you deserve to be treated well. This isn't just a fantasy. This is available to you right now. Not tomorrow when you lose 10 pounds. Not next month when you get that promotion. Not next year when you find the perfect relationship. Right now, exactly as you are. The journey starts with a simple decision. The decision to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. The decision to treat yourself with the same kindness you show to others. The decision to believe that you are worthy of good things. And if you're ready to make that decision, if you're ready to embark on this journey of self-love, then I want you to know that I believe in you. I believe you have everything within you to create a life you love. I believe you're capable of more than you know. I believe you're worthy of all the good things you dream of. But most importantly, I want you to believe it too. Because your relationship with yourself is the foundation of everything else in your life. When that foundation is strong, when it's built on love and respect and belief in your own worth, everything else becomes possible. So here's my challenge to you for the next 30 days. Commit to speaking to yourself like someone you love. Catch yourself when that critical voice starts talking. And choose different words. Choose kinder words. Choose words that build you up instead of tearing you down. Notice how your life starts to change. Notice how your relationships improve. Notice how opportunities start appearing. Notice how you start believing in possibilities you never considered before. And if this message resonated with you, if it touched something deep inside, I invite you to share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Because the truth is, we're all on this journey together. We're all learning to love ourselves well. We're all becoming who we're meant to be. If you want more content like this, if you want to continue this journey of growth and self-discovery, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a message that could change your life. Because here's what I know to be true. You have the power to transform your life. You have the power to break free from limiting beliefs and negative patterns. You have the power to create a life filled with love, purpose, and joy. It all starts with loving yourself. So start today. Start right now. Start exactly where you are. You are worthy. You are enough. You are loved. And your journey of self-love starts now.